With just 3 rounds to go, both Senna and McLaren are aiming to wrap up the championships here today at Jerez. Can Prost somehow fight back against his teammate? Let's find out. The 1988 Spanish Grand Prix is next. Okay, I'm sorry. It's been a month and a half since the last episode, but we're back here today with round 14 of the 1988 season. We head to Jerez. There it is, that little PNG picture of the circuit. It's a pretty nice circuit, actually. It's the Spanish Grand Prix. Of course, the circuit that we know the Spanish Grand Prix for in modern times was not even built at this point in time. So the circuit length, 4.2 kilometres, 2.6 miles, 72 laps. So it's one of those fairly short circuits. And the objective, again, is to qualify for the race here for Streamline. Pre-qualifying, qualifying in the race. We shouldn't see any rain, but you never know. That's just the forecast. Martin Brundle, our one and only driver. Martin Donnelly waiting in the wings still. And this is the Constructors' Championship heading into this round. It's McLaren's to win. Essentially, they can win the championship today. Ferrari have done great in the second half of this season. They are solidly in second place. Lotus just hanging on there for third. There's still a battle between Arrows and Benetton for fourth. If one of them can get a really good result, that'll seal the deal for them. And Williams there in sixth place. Sorry. I can't even read. Sixth place for Williams. They'd be really disappointed with that, I think. And I was expecting more teams to score points this year, but there's still 3 rounds to go, so it can still happen. But right now, only 10 teams have scored points. Now, because it's been such a long time since the last episode, you probably forgot that many of you in the Discord voted on which driver we were going to offer a contract to for the second driver position. We'll see who we chose in the, I think it's not the news section, it's the mail section when we'll cover that. But right now it's still Martin Brundle, the one and only sole Streamline car on the grid. Of course, we're increasing our capacity to 2 cars for 1989. Let's check out what's happened in, I was going to say this week, it's not exactly a week, this month, should we say, of Formula 1. McLaren have announced the signing of Satoru Nakajima to partner Senna in 1989, stating that this will further strengthen the bond between Honda and McLaren. Both of those drivers were partners at Lotus only a few seasons ago. Lotus have swiftly announced they will promote Johnny Herbert to a full race seat. Herbert made a few standout performances whilst Nakajima was injured. Brabham are set to return to the grid next year and have signed Martin Brundle from Streamline. The second driver seat is going to be debutant Damon Hill, the son of Graham Hill. The biggest shock of the week comes from Alboreto. After winning in dominant fashion in Portugal, it seems he is set to sign for Osella. A huge step back for the Italian, but maybe he knows something we don't. Alan Prost's engineer Benjamin Sabocci will follow the Frenchman over to Ferrari. Nakajima's engineer Stanislav Kapusta will also go across with his driver to McLaren. Ferrari recruits Minardi's chief designer Joshua Paolicelli, with their current chief designer Gary Fielding heading to Williams. The domino effect means that Thomas Anderson moves from Williams to Benetton to fill the hole that Sam Van Hoften has left at the team. Back on the topic of racing, both Senna and McLaren can wrap up the championships here at Jerez, and that is all for the news. I know some of you love the car upgrade system. I say that, I don't think I've actually got any feedback on it before, but I'm assuming some of you like it. Because it's so close to the end of the season, nobody's actually upgrading their cars now. But let's go on to the mail. Firstly, Martin Donnelly saying, "I'm ready, you know it. Dear James, I know that the board of directors voted in favour of myself for the second seat for 1989, and I just want to assure you that I am 100% committed to this team and will give my all to achieve the most I possibly can. I think it's a perfect situation as I have experience with the team and the personnel contained within it. I just need confirmation that the seat is mine. I did put up a vote for who you thought should be the second driver, and Martin Donnelly won that vote, so we're going to go with Martin Donnelly, but we'll just check out what the other favoured drivers said when we asked about their availability. We got in contact with Jean Alazy, who had this to say: "I already have a contract. Thank you for reaching out to me about my availability for next season. I respect you and your team, but unfortunately I already have a contract for next year. It has not been announced by the press as of right now, but I am contracted to March for 1989 after Capelli's departure was confirmed. Thanks for the interest, Jean." So yeah, that's a scoop really, isn't it? It's not released in the press or the news right now, but Jean Alazy to sign for March next season. Roberto Moreno stating he's not interested. "I understand you are interested in my services for next year. I am in no way interested in driving for a team such as Streamline at this current time. I think my performances for Ferrari this year have substantially altered my stock in the driver market, and therefore I don't think the capabilities of your team quite match my ambition." It's fair enough. in all honesty, he has had a few good performances so far this year, filling in for the injured Michele Alboreto on 2 separate occasions for the Ferrari team. And Streamline, we're really near the back of the grid, aren't we? So it's understandable that he's not interested in signing. Barry Goodman, I don't know what his position is in the team. He's like the head of the team. I don't know. Contract extension. Hi, mate. Just wanted to reach out and say that the job you've done this year has been acceptable and you're welcome to stay on in your current position for the 1989 season. I'll put it to a vote for the board of directors, but it's just a formality. Whatever the outcome is, I can assure you that you will remain at the helm, as that is my choice. Keep going, Barry. And Barry did put that to a vote in the Discord. And I'm happy to say 97 voted in favour of me. 1 person voted against me, not including Barry Goodman's vote, which doesn't really count. So 97 to 1, that's an overwhelming majority. And I'll continue as the head of the team for next season. The sponsor screen has not seen any changes since the mid part of the season, and it's not going to change until next year. I'm not sure still how we're going to decide on the fuel supplier, engine supplier, tyre supplier. I'll probably pick it all myself, but if I do need any inputs from any of you guys, I'll make sure to ask in the Discord. Let's see what the press have been talking about this week. Thomas Wood from What F1. Alboreto win for nothing. It has just been announced in the news that Michele Alboreto has made a surprise move to Osella for 1989. The Italian driver has just returned from injury for the 2nd time this year and won on his return in Portugal. Does this win mean nothing? I'd have suspected a bigger team would have tried to sign the experienced Italian, but maybe there really was no interest in his services. It's unfortunate for Alboreto, but to be fair, he might have signed that contract prior to the Portuguese Grand Prix, so we don't really know the ins and outs of that deal. But it does seem strange that he is now a winning driver from this season, yet is going to be driving for what seems to be a lower midfield, even back of the grid team next year. Roy Seffert from The Visor, Brabham's chances. With Brabham set to return to the grid for the 1989 season, let's assess their chances for the new season. That's the incorrect there in that, so marks down for Roy Seffert. Without any major financial backing, I do believe they will be no better than mid-pack. However, they have recruited an experienced driver in Martin Brundle alongside a rookie in Damon Hill. The all-British lineup could prove to be a success, but only time will tell. Damon Hill has only recently picked up car racing. He was originally going to be a motorcycle racer, apparently. Really, I don't know what his skill level is going to be going into next season. We know what Martin Brundle's capable of when the equipment is good, or at least acceptable. In the Streamline this season, though, he's not been up to par. Jeff Bennett from Uni Motors, a lazy to replace Capelli. A whistleblower from Streamline has revealed that F3000 driver John Alesi is set to replace the outgoing Ivan Capelli at March. Alesi is hotly tipped to be a star driver as we approach the turn of the decade. Will the Frenchman be able to live up to the hype, or will he fizzle out like so many before him? March are yet to comment on the rumours. Alright, it was one of you guys, it wasn't me, I'm not the whistleblower, but somebody from Streamline, the team, has got hold of my mail and has read that Alesi is going to March, so you can, discuss it amongst yourself in the comments, but it definitely was not me. But yeah, John Alesi, he's tipped to be a really good driver. He's been doing some wondrous things in the lower formula, so it'll be really interesting to see how he gets on next year. Right, let's start this race weekend. It's pre-qualifying for the Spanish Grand Prix. It was beautiful sunshine as Bernd Schneider in the Zach Speed was first out on track to go fastest in the session. The Osella, though, of Nicola Larini out shortly afterwards to go even quicker. And then on his second run, he went even quicker again to extend his lead at the top. It was Pierre-Carl Ghenzani to jump up above Oscar Larori in the battle for 4th place. And then right at the end, Stefano Modena across the line in the Eurobrun to go fastest in the session. It meant that Modena, Larini, Schneider and Larori make it through, Larori putting in a lap right at the end. And it also means that Pierre-Carlo Ghenzani knocked out for Zach Speed yet again. Those top 4, though, go on to the main qualifying session. Well, what a gloriously exciting session that was, he says slightly sarcastically. Let's jump into the main qualifying session. The session was underway. Nigel Mansell in the Williams first out on track and thus takes provisional pole position. Martin Brundle heads out onto the circuit to see if he can match his compatriot's time of a 1:26.0, but something tells me that's not going to happen. It's the man of the moment, Michele Alboreto, next out onto the circuit, and he dethrones Nigel Mansell at the top. It's short-lived as his own teammate Gerhard Berger next out to set the flying time of the session. And once again, it seems to be a battle between McLaren and Ferrari as Alain Prost heads to the top of the timing table. Unless Martin Brundle has something to say about it, can he challenge Prost? No, of course he can't. Down across the line he goes with his first lap. It's a 1:29.9. That's over 4 seconds behind Alain Prost's time. Andy Wallace out there with gearbox issues almost impedes Martin Brundle on his next flying lap. But the British driver, Brundle that is, goes even quicker. At 1:29.8, it's only a 1/10 improvement. Let's ride on board with Martin Brundle during his fastest lap in this qualifying session. There's a few drivers out there who have actually encountered difficulties and not able to set a time. That includes Jonathan Palmer in the Tyrrell, Maurizio Gugelmin in the March, René Arnoux in the Ligier and Stefano Modena in the Eurobrunn. The rest of the drivers out there doing their laps, putting their laps in. And we also saw Andy Wallace encounter issues with his gearbox in the lap that impeded Martin Brundle. Slowed him down a little bit, but that lap was still an improvement. This version of Jerez is pretty cool. Quick chicane here, left and right. Of course, we've seen the Streamline struggle with downforce. It seems to have a lot of drag and not very much downforce. It's a really, really bad car, let's be honest. And it's been struggling, especially through those sort of medium speed corners. The faster the corner, it seems the worse the car is, because it just gets so much understeer. You really got to lift off and take even less speed through the corner. The slow corners like the hairpins, we're okay. We've been okay throughout the whole season. We've got that mechanical grip almost nailed down for a midfield car. But the aero is definitely a back of grid car and the engine isn't much better. But through the first two sectors, Martin Brundle here up by 0.4 of a second and only 3 corners to go. That's one of them, a quick right-hander, followed by another very quick right-hander, and then the final corner is probably our strongest part of the circuit, a very slow speed hairpin. It's a left-hander. Round that corner we go. In second gear and down towards the line. Where can Martin Brundle slot his Streamline onto this grid? He goes across the line. It's a 29.1. 18th place right now, but where is it on the starting grid? Alain Prost out there yet again to go even quicker and extend his lead at the top of the qualifying session. And here is the starting grid. Rain started to fall towards the end of the session, which meant nobody could improve on their times. Alain Prost pole position for McLaren in a race that McLaren can win the Constructors' Championship and Prost's teammate Senna can also win the Drivers' Championship. Gerhard Berger lines up in second, with Satoru Nakajima, fresh off his new contract at Team McLaren, qualifies in third place. Michele Alboreto, the hero of the Portuguese Grand Prix, in fourth, ahead of Nigel Mansell. Ayrton Senna only sixth place. Nelson Piquet, his fellow Brazilian, in seventh. Thierry Boutsen and the lead Benetton in eighth place, ahead of Patrese and Nannini. Eddie Cheever, a driver who has won a race this season for Arrows, qualifies in 11th place, ahead of Stefan Johansson. Warwick, Wallace and Alio in the order, 13th, 14th and 15th place. It's 16th place for Yannick Dalmas in the second Larousse. Then it's Alex Caffey up in 17th place for Scuderia Italia. Luis Perez Sala in the Minardi 18th place, followed by Bailey and Strife rounding out the top 20. Pierluigi Martini, a distance behind his teammate in 21st there, Nicola Larini. He managed to get through the pre-qualifying session and makes it onto the main grid. So does Bernd Schneider. Martin Brundle 24th for Streamline, ahead of Oscar Larori, a rare appearance for him in the main race. Gabriel Tarquini, the final driver to qualify, and 4 drivers failed to get a time on the board. They faced issues earlier on in the session, and then when the rain hit, there was absolutely no point to go out onto the circuit. So Jonathan Palmer, Maurizio Gugelmin, Arnoux and Modena all miss out. Quite a lot of laps to this one, 72 laps around Jerez. The start is dry and sunny, and that's the projected conditions as well. The objective is to finish the race, and Martin Brundle, for once, Streamline going for a slightly different strategy, a 3-stop, pitting on lap 18, 36 and 54, starting all the way down in 24th place. The objective, of course, finish the race, but can they get anywhere better than that? Top 20, a top 15 maybe, let's find out. There's only one more thing to do, and that's go racing. The 1988 Spanish Grand Prix is next. Here we are on the grid, awaiting the lights. There they are. And the revs go up, and Martin Brundle in the Streamline gets underway for the Spanish Grand Prix. And what sort of launch does he get? A pretty decent one, it seems to be, but there's no space on the outside, no space on the inside. It's a very narrow circuit, and blocked in there right behind the Osella of Nicola Larini, and Brundle falls down to 26th place, so not a great start for the Streamline driver, but then he jumps past the Osella of Larini and Philip Strife in the AGS into turn 2. So he's regained those 2 positions he's lost at the start. As we move on to the beginning of lap 2, Alan Prost has the lead from pole position. He already has maybe a 2-second gap back to second place Nakajima, who's jumped ahead of Gerhard Berger in the battle for second place. Michele Alboreto, who won last time out in Portugal, he's currently in 4th place. Senna's made gains at the start of this race. He's up to 5th. Mansell has lost out. The biggest gainers though, at least in the top 20, Philippe Alliot starting in 15th up to 10th place. Alex Caffey starting down in 17th up to 13th. Schneider and Larori have similarly gained quite a few positions. Biggest losers though, Johansson and Andy Wallace, as riding on board with Martin Brundle on lap 2 up the inside of Julian Bailey into the hairpin. I think it's about turn 8 or turn 9 on this circuit, and that's 23rd place for Brundle now. Pretty good move, a solid move, as this is Alessandro Nannini trying to get past Philippe Alliot. He lost out to Alliot at the start of this race, I believe, and the Benetton driver fighting through side by side, but Alliot in the Larousse defends the position, at least for the time being. Back on board with Martin Brundle. It's lap 4 now, and Gabriel Tarquini is next up on the hits list. Brundle has good pace right now, at least compared to the drivers he's racing as he goes up the inside of Tarquini. That's due to Brundle on the 3-stop strategy, running a lighter fuel load than a lot of his competitors, which means he's easily making these moves. Lap 5 now, Pierluigi Martini next up on the checklist of Martin Brundle for the overtakes of today, and is still side by side with Martini. Martini on the right hand side, Brundle on the left. We know the Streamline struggles in these corners, but can he somehow find a way through Martini under braking? He goes past the Minardi driver, and that's 21st place now for Martin Brundle. Next up, Oscar Larori on the following lap. Larori made a good start to the race. I think he started down in about 25th or 26th. He's now 21st, as into the top 20 goes Martin Brundle. A fantastic opening 6 laps for the British driver. This is Philip Strife, who's out of position apparently after the start, up the inside of Julian Bailey into turn 1. That's for 24th place, so the AGS driver really has a lot of work to do if he wants to climb back up to towards where that car should be pace-wise. Lap 10 now is beginning, and Strife has Gabriel Tarquini in his sights. The Colonia on the right hand side of your screen there, the yellow liveried car. And up the inside into turn 1, yet again, Philip Strife pulling off another move into that corner. He's now up to 23rd place as we return to the battle between Nannini and Alliot. It's been raging on for the opening 11 laps, and on lap 11, can Nannini finally get through the Larousse driver? It's the exact same situation as what happened earlier on, but this time Nannini does go through, and he moves up into the top 10 in this race. Lap 15, and Perez Sala not going any further. The Minardi driver suffering a failure of some sort. Not sure what failure that might be. Apparently suspension, the team is reporting. Suspension failure for Perez Sala. Lap 18. And it's the next update. Prost still maintaining that first place. Berger, Alboreto, Mansell, Nakajima, Piquet and Boutsen all gaining positions since the last update. Nakajima not gaining position. That should be -3 for Nakajima. But Berger, Alboreto, Mansell gaining. Senna's been into the pits as well, so he's lost positions. We've seen Nannini overtake Alliot. A lot of the midfield sort of stagnating for that series of laps, and lap 18, nothing has changed from 12th down to 18th. But Martin Brundle up to 19th place. He's made some good gains. As Prost into the pits on the end of lap 18. And it seems it's that Gerhard Berger into the pits as well in the Ferrari. Prost rejoining, still in the lead of the race. Just ahead of, okay, that's Gerhard Berger. So Gerhard Berger, no, that's Alboreto. Alboreto. Sorry, I'm doing a Murray Walker here. I'm forgetting who I'm looking at. Alboreto up to 2nd place. Mansell up to 3rd. That's Nakajima in 4th. 5th place there for Ayrton Senna. And then 6th place for Gerhard Berger. Martin Brundle choosing to extend his first stint by a couple of laps as there's Bernd Schneider into the pits. And on lap 20, Brundle does eventually bring his Streamline into the pits. Has he done enough to pull ahead of Bernd Schneider? No, he has not. Bernd Schneider's already gone past him yet again. So the Zach speed really, really quick. And Brundle's going to rejoin about 10 seconds behind Schneider. He's now a lap down as well and rejoins in 19th place. As this is Nelson Piquet, who was out position in qualifying up the inside of Riccardo Patrese. Patrese has only scored 3 points this season, and that all came in one single race. He's had a really bad season for Williams. And this is Senna now trying to get past Nakajima. They're going to be teammates next year. And there's no love lost between them. And now Nakajima under pressure from Gerhard Berger on the inside. Nakajima just about doing enough to hold on to that position. The lapped traffic, there's Andy Wallace in the way in the march, causing absolute carnage. Speaking of Andy Wallace, he's now into the pits. And Martin Brundle moves through into 18th place. As we're about halfway through this race now. Alan Prost, he's controlling this one. He's basically got the win in the bag unless something weird happens to him. Nakajima back up to 2nd place. Berger and Alboreto 3rd and 4th. Mansell 5th and Ayrton Senna. All the work he's doing today is only good enough for 6th place. So he's not going to win the championship as it stands. I think he needed to win the race with Prost just not scoring any points. I think that was what he needed to do. So maybe not a chance to win the championship this time around, but plenty of time left in the season. Well, I say plenty of time. 2 races to go in the season. I'm sure he can still wrap this up. As lap 36, it's Prost into the pits. He rejoins in a massive lead. It's lap 37 now, should I say. He put on the end of lap 36, and there's that Nakajima into the pits from 2nd place as well, and that's going to give 2nd place now to Berger and 3rd place to Alboreto. Ferrari could potentially be on for another double podium finish, as Senna now up to 4th place ahead of Nigel Mansell. Into the pits on lap 37 is the Streamline of Martin Brundle, pitting from 18th place, and he's going to rejoin in 19th. It's now Bernd Schneider, who's also been into the pits on the previous lap, is only 4.5 seconds up the road. The Coloni of Gabriel Tarquini has not done much, not made much of an impression today, and it's all over. Lap 38, engine failure, and causes some cars to hit him, including Nelson Piquet in the number 1 Lotus car, but no damage done to any of those cars. So luckily, everybody carries on in the race unharmed, apart from, of course, Gabriel Tarquini. He's out of the race. And this is lap 43 now. Bernd Schneider only a second ahead of Martin Brundle. Could Brundle overtake a Zach Speed on circuit? They were tipped to be... Oh no, he's out! He's out! The engine's gone! Engine's gone. Lap 45, Martin Brundle. Engine failure. There's no smoke. It's just cut out. And the battle between Zach Speed and Streamline is going to go to Zach Speed today, as Brundle out of this race. I was about to say they were tipped to be rivals going into this season, and they're proving to be rivals today with a great battle on show. But sadly, we've been stripped of that battle. Potential battle at least, as Brundle out of the race. I think that might be his 6th or 7th retirement so far this season. As Senna chasing down Alboreto. Alboreto pulling into the pits, and Senna's hit him. Senna's hit him. Senna's chance at a championship today is well and truly gone, as he's out of the race. He's taken Alboreto out of the race with him as well. Both the Ferrari and the McLaren retire from this Grand Prix. Oh, dearie me, what have we seen there? Alio trying to get past one of the Benettons there, and Johansson taking advantage to go up the inside into the final corner. Johansson, the Ligier, up into the top 10. Would have been 12th place if, of course, nothing happened between Senna and Alboreto. But Senna's teammate Prost is controlling things today. He's been in for his final pit stop. Nakajima runs in 2nd place for Lotus, and 3rd place is Gerhard Berger in the Ferrari. Lap 54. Prost, Nakajima, Berger, the top 3. Piquet now up to 4th. Mansell in 5th, and Thierry Boutsen in the Benetton in 6th place. Patrese, Nannini, Chiva and Warwick complete the top 10. Johansson now running in 11th, so he's been passed by somebody there. Alio 12th, and everybody else gaining positions. Nicola Larini up 5 positions since the last update. He's now in 17th place. But it's a bout of disappointment for a few of those drivers in the past 18 laps, including Martin Brundle retiring from the race. And of course, our championship leader Ayrton Senna out. That's his 2nd retirement in the previous 4 races. He's only won 1 race in the previous 5 races. As Philippe Alliot, who was running, I think, just in the top 10, slowing down there and stopping on track. Apparently, that's a suspension failure, just like Luis Perez Sala had early on in the race. A similar part of the circuit as well. But nothing could stop Alain Prost today. The McLaren rounding the final corner for the final time to come down towards the line, across the line, to claim his 3rd victory of the season. A fantastic result. Great stuff from Alain Prost. He's closed the gap to Senna in the championship with 2 rounds to go. But there we go. Alain Prost wins by 41 seconds ahead of Nakajima. Satoru Nakajima, a brilliant result for him today. That's his 2nd podium of the season. His best result of the season as well. His previous podium was a 3rd place finish. Mansell in the podium places as well. That's only his 2nd 3rd place finish of the year. Gerhard Berger in 4th. Piquet 5th place, makes it 2 Lotus drivers in the top 5. And Thierry Boutsen scoring a final point for Benetton. Riccardo Patrese once again misses out. Patrese, I think, has finished 7th in the past 2 races actually. He's only finished a total of 5 races all season long. Bernd Schneider finishing in the top 15, albeit 3 laps down. We had quite a few drivers actually finish that race, not too many retirements. 20 drivers reached the checkered flag. Of course, Alia, that suspension failure late on. Alboreto and Senna, the crash going into that final corner. The engine failure for Brundle and a spectacular engine failure for Tarquini. Perisella retired early on with suspension failure as well. Alain Prost claiming the fastest lap of the race. He's been in truly dominant form all weekend long. So with just 2 rounds to go, Senna has a 6-point lead over Prost. He could have won the championship today, but it's all gone wrong for the Brazilian, and that's very close between the 2 McLaren drivers. It's Berger 2 points ahead of Piquet in the battle for 3rd place. Alboreto seems to have that 5th place nailed down, but a battle for 6th place between Chiva, Mansell, Boutsen, Nakajima and Warwick, really. You could include him in that, so it's a 5-way battle for that 6th place in the championship. There's still only 20 drivers scoring points. I was expecting more drivers scoring points going into the season, but Martin Brundle thankfully is in the top 30 and he's ahead of both Zach Speed cars, which means of course in the team standings Streamline above Zach Speed in the championship. But those are the top 30 and just the final few drivers. 36 drivers competing so far this season. We've had 5 temporary drivers fill in, reserve, test drivers, whatever you want to call them. Julian Bailey, the final driver on the list. This result for McLaren means they are the Constructors' Champions of 1988, taking their crown back. McLaren first, Ferrari will have to settle for most likely 2nd place. Benetton and Williams are getting closer, Williams scoring more points than Benetton here today because of Mansell's podium. And the battle for the lowly position of 16th place is currently held by Streamline, ahead of Zach Speed and Coloni. Well, there we have it, the end of another episode of Streamline. I know it's been a month and a half since the last one. I'm terribly inconsistent, I'm just lazy, essentially. But thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy that one and you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to give the video a like as well. And just comment down below. Comment whatever you want. It helps apparently in the great YouTube algorithm. So make sure to get in the comments down below. And I'll see you all in the next episode. Goodbye.